Dawn, thank you so much for coming all the way to Bloemfontein. It's such a pleasure and a treat to have you here. So we're going to jump right into our chat. Welcome to Bloemfontein. So our fireside chats are all about getting to know our guest speakers, and we would like to start with your background. So can you tell us a bit more about who Dawn is?
Well, first, Leslie, thank you, and it's an honor and an absolute privilege to be in Bloemfontein, and thank you, to you especially, for hounding me and chasing me, and thank you so much to Marsha and to your team. So where did it all start is basically what you would like to hear. So my life is over a period of sort of 3 decades, my career. I mean, I wish I was 30. But it spans over a period of over 30 years. Started off humble beginnings, went to a private school in Durban, brought up, raised in a family of 4. But I was no straight A student. I was actually quite rebellious at school. I was quite disruptive. So the disruptor at school became a disruptor in business. So you see what they teach us at school. My teachers used to say, you're an upstart. So the upstart became a startup. So you see, we must be very careful how we talk to our kids and what teachers tell you. Because, I was very popular. I liked the social life. So the social life, I became a socialite. And so all of these things really started making me feel that I wasn't really cut out to go to university. So much to my parents' horror and dismay, I decided to take off a couple of years and go and find myself. I wanted to find the fame and the fortune. I wanted to make lots of money. But little did I realize that you have to work damn hard. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So I'd done many jobs, and I happened to meet one of the founders of Imperial. We bumped into each other accidentally in Durban. And I met this woman, tall blonde lady. She was in her early 30s. I was 21 years old. Absolutely naive, green. All I wanted was to be successful, but I didn't quite know what that meant. We met, and within 15 minutes of meeting, she told me who she was. She was starting up a car rental company, she had, and she was looking for somebody in Durban to run it. I was 21 years old, and I said, I'll do it. This is what I've been looking for. I'll do it. And she said, well, come in and see me tomorrow. I did, and she offered me the job. She said, you're going to start this business up in Durban. You can look after the coast. We need you to start up a branch in Cape Town. And I didn't actually quite know what I was letting myself into. And I went home, told my parents that I was actually stark raving mad. And I then was working part-time for this company, a guy called Mike. I will not mention company names. And I went to him the next day and I said, Mike, I'm in a little bit of a dilemma. What do I do? I've been offered this job to start up this car rental business with another person who I didn't really know. And it's a female, and it's car rental, and I've been given this enormous opportunity. What do you think? And Mike sat there, he said, well, he told me 3 things. He said, firstly, I don't think you cut out to start up a business. Secondly, he said to me, car rental is not a sustainable business. And thirdly, it's a very male-dominated environment, and women don't really know much about motor cars. That made up my mind. That made me determined. That was it. I was going to do it. I resigned immediately, and I started the very next day. And the rest is history. I was given 5 keys to 5 cars and told, go and find customers, go and start up this business, open bank accounts, find branches, and start it up. And that was the beginning. And that is the learning phase of my life.
I'd just like to jump in there and ask, we're in a space now where there are more emerging entrepreneurs, if I can say so, or being an entrepreneur is trendy. And as somebody looking for employment, how did you, okay, we know that you were challenged into accepting the job, but can you say something about that? This really scary experience of working for not a big corporation. Because I believe, many parents, I know my parents were just like, they envision you in a big corporate
Absolutely,
as a career.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So, yes, it was a huge leap of courage, and it was a very uncomfortable situation. And I think the message there really is, if you believe in yourself and you can believe you can do it. Now, 21 years, I knew absolutely nothing. I mean, I went into the first meeting and they were talking about a balance sheet and ROIC and, net present values and I didn't, cost of capital. And I didn't know those things, but I was very blessed. I've got a very curious mind and I ask a lot of questions and I read a lot. And I was quite worldly. So I think it's about your attitude. It's really about your attitude. And it's really sad, Leslie, that listening, and I go to a lot of women's functions, and I'm a huge advocate for women empowerment because I believe we're so far away. And the statistics tell us only 28% of females are in senior roles, and only 5% of females are in CEO positions in listed companies in South Africa. So that's a very daunting number. So I think the statistics are against us, but it's really sad that we have to celebrate a Women's Day, that we have to talk about these things. We should be we're in the 21st century. We should be well over it, but we mustn't forget it's less than 100 years that women have been given the vote, that women have been included in society. I mean, I remember growing up, the country club, women weren't allowed. If you were Jewish, if you were black, and if you were a woman, you were not allowed to go into this club. So it's really fine looking at the obstacles and looking at the impossibilities and looking at it as an opportunity and looking at the potential.
Right. So you say that was the learning.
That was the
learning part.
So my life, learning, earning, and returning. So that's how I've categorized my life. So it started at the learning, but we never stopped learning. It was so brilliant to hear so many women talk about reading and reading and reading, because we must never, ever stop learning. And then it was the earning. We started building this business. Carol then retired a number of years ago, and I took the business from 6 cars. When I left, because I stepped down a year and a half ago, we had 25,000 cars. I started the business, did 40,000 Rand turnover. When I ended, we were touching a 5 billion Rand turnover business. And we were global. We had offices all over the world. And I looked after automotive. I looked after the car rental businesses. I looked after the brokering businesses and a number of, through mergers and acquisitions, and we grew this business. So that's the earning, but I want to just clarify, not earning financially, earning in terms of earning respect, because the one thing that I heard in the previous discussions is, people don't take women seriously. Well, I disagree with that, because I think sometimes we are our own worst enemies, and sometimes as women we feel like we're the victims. You need to earn that respect, and I'm not saying that you need to go out and be far more powerful, or you need to be this, feminist, but we need to earn. So the earning respect, earning a position, earning who you are, earning in so many areas, the broader earning. And we grew the business, and I surrounded myself with really good people that were so much better than me in so many different areas, and made lots of mistakes. So that was the next phase of my life.
And what was your drive to, grow the company to that size? I mean, there's understanding the difference between being self-employed and building a business is a huge thing, and, a huge discussion in entrepreneurship. So, what pushed you beyond just renting out the 6 cars every day and living a comfortable life?
So I think ambition. I was highly ambitious, and the early part of my life was a very competitive part of my life. So I was competitive by nature and wanted to do good. As you go along in life, so as you start up a business and then you become an entrepreneur, then you become a leader, and then you become an entrepreneurial leader, and then you do lots of other things. So I guess where I'm going with that is that you never sort of give up. You keep going, and you set yourself the next challenge. Don't allow somebody to set that challenge for you.
And surrounding yourself with good people. Who did you identify people in your community or in business and say, okay, I'm going to work my way to being friends with them, or just the right hiring?
So
how do you go about?
In the beginning, as I said, we were quite naive, and when I say I was very competitive in terms of we wanted to be the biggest car rental company in South Africa. That was our dream. So start small. Think big, have a big dream. Our dream was to be the biggest car rental company, and nothing was going to stop us getting there. Nothing was going to stop me from becoming the largest car rental company. And so you've really got to have a dream, and you've got to persevere with that dream. And just sort of going back to your question, which I need to ask you, what was your question? I don't mind asking.
How did you identify and ensure that you were surrounded by the right people?
So in the beginning, we found people who were very similar-minded to ourselves, who were very service-oriented, who were service ambassadors, who could please customers. But as the business grew to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and as we expanded our footprint locally and globally, we needed different skills. We needed good financial people. We needed good legal people. We needed people with expertise in different fields. And I went out and found the best in those industries. So the best in terms of, in our industry, for example, in car rental, it's all about logistics. It's about turning that vehicle over as quickly as possible, because you want to turn it around twice, 3 times in a day, so that you can earn a lot more for that vehicle. And I was overseas, and I went to Formula One in Monte Carlo. I was very blessed. And I looked at how they were turning over these Formula One vehicles in the pits. And it was like they took a car and they turned this thing over, they changed the tires, they filled it in a split second. So what I did is I contacted Renault, Alfonso, what's his name, whoever follows whatever his name is, he was the lead racing driver. And I said, I want to come and work in Renault. I want to work with Formula One team. I want to know how you do it. And I took a French guy, brought him to South Africa, and he was in South Africa for about 6 months. And I said, I want you to teach us about the art of turnaround and speed and precision, which is absolutely critical, and safety and all of those issues. So you need to find the best, not in your field. You need to look beyond your field, where the best people are. I mean, still to this very day. So I, spent my life going to events like this. I'd meet very good people, think you would connect very well in our business, and I'd offer people jobs. I mean, I offered so many people, and so many people from restaurants worked for me, so many people from makeup counters selling me cosmetics. And where I found a good customer-centric, honest, sincere, authentic person, I would actually offer them a job.
And so I think that links in with courage, this earning, reaching out to people, thinking out of the box. That's a brave thing to do. A lot of, I think people, when they start scaling, fear the responsibility of employing people, sharing your vision with other people. Could you say something about that?
Sure. So you talk about fear. So fear is as a result of failure, the fear of failure, and I think it's okay to fail. I think I've always taught people that you must fail, you must make mistakes. However, you must learn through your mistakes and don't ever make the same mistake more than once. So I think that it was really saying this is fear, and having the confidence. And what is confidence? Confidence is about the ability, when you fail, how do you quickly pick yourself up? That's what confidence is about. That's my impression, my personal view of what confidence is about. When you fail, how do you pick yourself up and how do you move forward and really learn from that lesson?
So moving on to the return, I'm guessing that's financial gain.
So I had been in my career, and we heard a lot about work-life balance. And my view on work-life balance, it doesn't exist, okay? Anyone that tells me that they have perfected it, I think you're lying, because it doesn't exist. As a woman, I know family and your work life, you're always feeling guilty. So first and foremost, dash the guilt. And, just get out there and do what you have to do. And I got married very late in life because my career came first. So I only got married at 44 years old. And, to try and start a family at 44 years old, your biological clock is ticking in the southern side, not the northern side. And everything falls south. So my husband and I really tried for many years to have a child. We couldn't. And after a long, long time, we decided to adopt a child and to give an opportunity to a child to have a better life. So I brought this beautiful little boy, he's now 12 years old, into our lives. I adopted him, I chose him, I decided that we would go this route. And for the first couple of years, I was never home. I wasn't home. I traveled a lot. I was overseas. And I'll tell you what happened, and it was a turning point in my life. There were many turning points because I do believe in a higher power, and I believe that we must listen because the higher power sprinkles dust on us. And sometimes we don't recognize what that dust is. Sometimes it's in the form of opportunities, and we need to, identify that the opportunities, grab them, seize them, and capitalize on them. Or it's in terms of negativity or challenges or whatever. So I had been blessed with a son. I was on an aircraft on my way to a board meeting in Paris, and sitting next to a random guy, and in fact he wasn't random because he was in fact from ABSA. He was the CEO of ABSA at the time. And we were chatting in a safe way on an aeroplane, is always to talk about your children. And we started talking about children, and we discovered that our sons were the same age, both at different schools, we lived in different areas, different walks of life. And we discovered that they played soccer together at the same club. And they were same age, and they played in the same team. Like what on earth are the chances of that? And this guy said to me, so what is your son's name? I mean, we hadn't even actually got to the point of talking about what his name was, what our name. I said, my son's name is Daniel Nathan. He said, Daniel Nathan? Daniel Nathan is awesome. Did you see that hat trick that he scored in the last 10 minutes? Did you see his bicycle goal? Well, firstly, I didn't know what any of these things were. I mean, he is phenomenal. Did you see him at the last? And I just sat there and I thought, how on earth does this complete and utter stranger know more about my son? So that, for me, was like a little sprinkle of something that was, it was a sign. And then a number of things happened, and I really believed that I brought this child into my life, and it was my turn to give back. But also what was happening is as I grew from startup to entrepreneur to leader, entrepreneurial leader, so you lose sight of what got you there in the first place. What was your purpose? What was your driving force that got you there? It was because I enjoyed the excitement of being an entrepreneur. When you're a big corporate animal, and sorry to Sanlam, Santam, ABSA, and all of those, because there's no right and there's no wrong. When you're heading up a massive organization, you're so out of touch from the people and what's happening in the ground. You're so out of touch in terms of innovating, in terms of, creating different thinking. Yes, you can influence it, but with corporate governance and with so much legislation, it's very difficult as a CEO of a large company. You can make the changes, but what I found is that what got me there was not what was making me feel really, really good. And so I decided, everyone said, you're at the height of your career, you're doing so well, what on earth are you giving it up for? And it was one of the most courageous decisions that I've ever made. And I went and I told my son after I'd made the decision. And he used to ask me, Mum, why are you never at work? And I said, because I'm making money for us so that you can have the Nike tackies, so that you can go business class and we can travel all over the world. We're going to go to Disneyland. We do all of this fun stuff together, which was the guilt, because I had to find a way of giving back because I wasn't there as a mum. And the first thing that he said to me, he said, so Mum, you giving up work? I said, yes, I'm giving up work and we're going to live in Cape Town. We're going to start a new life. We're going to live in Cape Town, because I do believe that this is the mountain and the sea where we need to be. And he said, so Mum, does that mean we can't have any overseas holidays? And does that mean that I need to sit on plastic chairs at the airport and not the business class lounge? I knew I actually had to give up work because I was actually bringing up a spoiled brat. And it was because of me that he was quite spoiled. And so I thought, no, he needs to get into his, mainstream living. And it was all through my guilt that I was trying to compensate in that way. So we moved to Cape Town, and that's where the returning. And, Shark Tank, Mnet phoned me, and after I had given up work and I was going to really find the next chapter of my life. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I wasn't going to sit at home and be soccer mom. And Mnet called me and they said, we've been given your name, would you like to audition for Shark Tank? I'd watched Dragon's Den. I didn't know what Shark Tank was. I knew the sharks. I supported them because I come from KZN. And I knew what a Shark Tank was and Shark Tank diving, but I didn't know what it was. I'd watched Dragon's Den. Anyway, they had to educate me. And long story short, I went and met with them and I said, this is really not me. I'm under the radar. I don't like to be exposed. I don't like to be out there. And they said, no, come on, it'll be fun. And then I heard I was going to be the only woman out of a panel of 5, and it was 3 months taken out of my life where Mnet own you for that 3 months. You start it's not glamorous at all. You start early in the morning at 5 o'clock. You're on set, makeup, hair, and you work until 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning until you're finished. And again, it was like a little sprinkle that you look at and you say, is this a blessing in disguise? And so I went to my spiritual leader, I went to my son, I went to everybody, and everyone said, hell, that sounds like so much fun. Do it. What the hell have you got to lose? And I thought, why not? And it really has given me a platform to launch my entrepreneurial side of my life, which is the returning, and to be a mentor, a coach, an investor. I invest in startups, mainly a lot of female startups where females have challenges in getting finance. So I really have found the most incredibly rewarding space in my life. And yes, maybe commercially it's not as viable, but I'm comfortable, I'm healthy, and just every single day as one door closes, the next door opens. And I'm a firm believer. And that's why I said yes to you, Leslie, because it gives me an opportunity to meet all these wonderful people.
Thank you. Right, so our fireside chats aren't about me asking all the questions. Would you mind parting before we open to the audience for Q&A? Would you mind giving us a piece of advice or industry insight, perhaps, to aspiring entrepreneurs or somebody that might be facing some challenges right now?
So I think the big thing, and I take lessons from business and also lessons from Shark Tank, and sometimes it's really sad. My business side of my life was 30 years, where blood, sweat and tears. Shark Tank was 3 months. And everyone wants to know about Shark Tank because that's the power of media. And as we know, the power of social media it can elevate you or it can drop you. You can lose your reputation in 5 seconds. So what was the question? Woo! This is getting fun. I love it. I love it. I love a bit of excitement and fun.
Just one piece of advice or industry insight?
Yes, of course. So I think as not as females, but as people wanting to start up a business or people that are already entrepreneurs and they want to move their business to the next level, you really need to brand yourself. I think branding is absolutely key. And a lot of us forget how important branding and marketing ourselves. You need to have a purpose. You need to be different. Then you need to take that persona and you need to sit in front of somebody, whether it's a customer, whether it's a potential investor, whether it's whatever the stakeholder may be, and you need to pitch, okay? And for me, the power for a potential business person or potential entrepreneur, the power is in the pitch. And how do you pitch? You've got to be as authentic as possible. You've got to be sincere. And the fake it until you make it, I don't believe in that at all. It really, people see right through that. And you need to be honest and show your warts. We all have warts, and show your weaknesses. But you really need to know your stuff. You need to know your stuff. Don't go into a pitch, whether it's with a customer or whoever, and be unprepared. Be as prepared as humanly possible. So really my advice is, work on your own personal branding. Personal branding is absolutely key. And then the power of the pitch. When I say power, it doesn't have to be a powerful pitch, but you've got to put your point across very strongly in terms of what you want. And very often people are unfocused. They go to a customer and they ask them for 20 different things. Be very focused, be very specific, and let it be purpose driven as opposed to like an emotionally driven. And sometimes with women, we tend to be more emotional. And we need to pull that back.
Thank you. So, audience, have you got any questions?
Sure. Thank you very much, ma'am, for that insightful conversation. My question is centered around personal branding. How do you go about branding yourself as an individual?
Okay, so today we're very fortunate or unfortunate, whichever way you want to look at it, through social media. So in the past, you would have to create, you'd have to go to a design agency and design yourself a logo and whatever. With social media, you are your logo. You are the logo. But you better make sure that the logo that you represent is as aligned to you as possible. So with social media and through the digital space, you need to connect with the right people, networking. But the personal branding that I'm talking about is, what is your purpose? Why are you doing this? And you need to tell people. We walk in a room and we network, and everybody says, what do you do? Instead of why do you do it? And I think that's what personal branding is. Why are you doing this? What is your purpose behind what you're doing? And I think that there's a huge new era that is moving, profit versus purpose, or purpose over profit. So I think you need to be very clear in terms of what you're about and not send mixed messages. But really, social media is the most incredible platform. And, that's like I don't know if anyone's read the book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution. And, we are now, we went through the physical, which was, labor-intensive revolution and mass production. Then we went into the digital age with automation, and now we are, we're now entering the fourth industrial revolution, which is biological, which is, gene editing and all of those wonderful things. I do like a 6-month course on that. No, I'm only kidding. I don't know anything about it. But what I'm saying is that if you're going to brand yourself, you best know about what is happening and what's trending and what's not trending. So why am I telling you this is because the fourth industrial revolution is on our doorstep. It's happening. Autonomous cars, big data, artificial intelligence. We best know about it. We don't need to know a lot about it, but when we brand ourselves, we need to know where the markets and the trends are heading. So that's a long way to answer your story. But does that answer your question?
Thank you so much. I just want to hear your comments about mentoring in business and how does one go about it?
Okay, so I've got a different take on mentoring because I believe you go through phases in your life where you need different mentors. So I believe there's more SMEs, subject matter experts, that you need to look for. So, a lot of entrepreneurs, and I guess there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience here tonight, a lot of entrepreneurs may not be good administrators or financially good, or they not be good marketers or whatever. So find yourself a subject matter expert in that field and connect with them, collaborate with them. And then mentors are really where, so subject matter experts are absolutely critical. Look where your weaknesses lie. And that's where you need a mentor. The mentor for me is the proverbial mirror that gets put in front of your face. Look in this mirror and what do you see? You actually know what the mentor is going to tell you. So you need the mentor just to confirm. When you look in this proverbial mirror, what do you see? What are you doing wrong? What are your weaknesses? Then go and find a subject matter expert in the different fields that can actually lead you and guide you in those areas. So I had a mentor. He was 22 years old. I went to him to learn about digital marketing, about social media. He had long hair and he was probably high on weed or whatever. But every single month I went to him and I would say, teach me, tell me, what am I doing wrong? What should I know? And I think very often a lot of us don't want to admit. We want people to think that we know everything, that we know a lot about a lot. But tell people, somebody was talking to me earlier on. In fact, we're having a conversation. She mentioned a word and I said, well, I don't know what that is. So if any of you watched Shark Tank, there were many, many occasions where somebody would come into the audience. Bitumen, do you know what bitumen is? It's the tar that gets put into the cement or whatever. And they were talking about this, and like the four men, men pretend that they know everything. So like, the testosterone and all the rest. I'm like, what is he talking about? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, So I think, coming back to your point about mentoring, be honest. Say to your mentor, this is my weakness. They're going to tell you anyway, but just you need reaffirmation. And you need a good sounding board, to say, without going to your boss or without going to your partner and saying, listen, I'm very weak in this area, I don't know what to do. A mentor is a great sounding board.
Talking about building your brand, obviously there's a difference between entrepreneurial and when you're in a corporate. How do you build your brand when you're an employee in a corporate?
So make your voice heard. By that I'm not saying assert yourself, but let people know what you're about and what you stand for. So entrepreneurship is really a great way to encourage innovation and to encourage different thinking, lateral thinking, out-of-the-box thinking in organizations. So in organizations, I think as in business, you've got to find the right people to, deliver the right message. So, and you've got to keep flogging your message. So if you believe very much that we could be doing it better, don't ever knock the way we're doing it, because you're going to fall like a ton of bricks. Don't knock, but maybe this is a better way. Make yourself heard. Have your voice. And I know that's hard and not always easy. So I do a talk on looking at big businesses, because I've been a big business, and the proverbial corporate animal. And I use the analogy of a bear. And then an entrepreneur, nimble, eats everything, killer instinct, and I use the analogy of a shark. And I talk about a bear and a shark, and what differentiates these two magnificent species. And in conclusion, one is not better than the other. So you can be entrepreneurial in a corporate. It just depends on how much freedom that corporate, a lot of corporates pay lip service to innovation. A lot of corporates will say, we're innovative and we're innovative thinking, and we encourage like thinking out of the box thinking. We encourage people to, be the voice. But they actually don't. And I think it's important that you make it known. You may not be popular, but you will have presented your case, but not just presenting for the sake of it. So let me ask you the question back: are you in a corporate environment, or are you an entrepreneur? You're in a corporate. Okay. So it is dependent on the culture of that corporate organization, but I say it in a positive light, because I do believe a lot more corporates are finding innovative thinking is like the most powerful tool in businesses today. And then to listen to people in the organization and to allow the ideas to filter to the right ears.
Awesome. Dawn, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming out to Bloem.